All right, YouTube. This Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. Sunday morning the 7th. Tomorrow is the 8th, the day of the solar eclipse. We're going to talk about that later on today. What I want to talk to you about this morning is the power that mainstream media used to have versus their actual power right now to influence the masses. You know, social media platforms like YouTube has overcame TV, CNN, MSNBC, because you get to hear the common man or woman give their take on what's going on in this world or in this society, so to speak. So when they feel threatened, the first thing they want to do is cast aspersions on people's name. You know, they want to implement cancel culture, and they really want to shame people. Shame and guilt is a tactic that they use, but it's so strange because most of them are shameless. You know what I mean? Their duplicity and uh, complicitness with the government is at an all-time high. You never see them on the View talking about the immigration crisis, talking about what Biden's policy really is and what Biden did. We already know that Biden's whole platform is directed toward abortion, LGBT community issues, uh, Ukraine, and you know, funding Israel. Very seldom do you see them come out with a real policy that affects the American people and or helps the American people. Now, as liberal as they claim to be, these people play the race card so much. It's almost as if they think they own Black America when it comes to who we should vote for or what policies we should be supporting. And it's crazy because they show you how immoral they are, and then they always come out with this moral high ground that they try to take when it suits their best interest. Now, we're going to talk about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Now, The Rock, they loved him, you know, and because he has a different political view than he had a few years ago, now it's a problem. You know what I mean? As if a person shouldn't speak out on how the last 4 years under Biden was. You know, they like to say always their talking point is that this is a threat to democracy. No administration has ever undermined the Constitution the way this administration is. You know what I mean? So their illusion of what democracy is can't even be upheld by this administration. They're attacking the First Amendment with censorship. They're attacking due process in the court system. You know, they even attacking the Eighth Amendment with cruel and unusual punishment and excessive fines. The American people have never been this divided. But what they have done, ironically, is they play the race card so much that people who are intelligent understands that this is not about race. You know what I mean? This is more about classism because you have poor white people and poor Black people and working class Black people and working class white people whose way of life is under attack and threatened by the very policies that the Democratic Party implements. You know what I mean? They're undermining the auto industry. They're undermining every what they would call second class citizen because they only want rich and they want poor working class. See, it's not really a middle class anymore. It's the poor working class because with the prices so high, you still can't afford nothing. So they say unemployment is down because they've cut so many people, and the average person has to work 2 jobs. So, in saying that, they use a lot of double talk. But we here this morning to watch them critique Dwayne Johnson for his honest assessment of the performance of Biden and what he sees in this country. So, check this out. It's for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for commentary and educational purposes. Check out their line of reasoning and tell me what you think.
This morning, besides the earthquake going on Fox and Friends, superstar Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was asked about. Yeah, he was asked about. Are his relatives here? What? He was asked about putting his weight behind.
Now I want to show you. You see how at the mention of The Rock's name, the fans immediately when they heard The Rock's name started clapping on cue because this is really theater right here. You know what I mean? They hear The Rock's name, they're excited. He's this superstar for them. But Joey Behar and the other witches of the View, they're finna dog whistle because they really want other Hollywood actors not to come out and say that they support Trump. Even with Stephen A. Smith, he said similar things to what Biden says. But soon as they stand up and speak the truth, Hollywood and the pundits attack them. I wanted to see how they just was very excited just to hear The Rock's name. But listen to the dialogue.
Joe Biden in the last election. So watch.
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no. I'm not going to do that because what I realized, what that caused back then was something that tears me up in my guts back then and now, which is division.
So a couple of questions. First of all,
Now, just earlier this week, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that Joe Biden is a bigger threat to democracy than Trump. And they sent the dogs out after him. But the Democrats want to silence you. You know what I mean? They want to quiet the voice of dissent. They want to act like we don't see how their policies are hurting the American population and the citizens. You know what I mean? It may not be affecting the elite or the so-called elite at this particular time, but the citizens are the very foundation that this so-called government sits on. So if it collapses at the bottom, of course the top is coming down. But they're so adamant about demonizing Trump that they don't even realize that man has a right to speak the truth. And he said that when he endorsed Biden, it was a mistake, basically. You know what I mean? Charlemagne then came out and said the same thing. The ones that are being honest, in good conscience and in good faith, they cannot tell you any longer that you should vote for Biden. Biden has totally went off the rails. I don't even think that Biden's running the country. And most people have came to that conclusion because he's not cognitive enough to even know the damage that he's doing. But what we're watching now is an attempt at cancel culture. Listen to their line of speech.
Maybe they're not as relatives. Yeah. So the question, first of all, should I pay any attention to who gives an interview on Fox where they lie every day? Number one. Number two, should celebrities publicly endorse public figures? Or they should keep their if they want to. I mean, celebrities are U.S. citizens.
I mean, I'm going to ask you guys honestly. You know, do you guys really think that Fox News lies every day? You know what I mean? Because on the conservative side, they say CNN, MSNBC lies every day. Clearly, we can see that there is a lot of lying that goes on in media. But the price at the gas pump is not a lie. The price of eggs and bread is not a lie. The immigrant invasion is not a lie. You know what I mean? How they are changing the school system and the indoctrination of our children is not a lie. So at some point, we're going to have to start asking these people, what is a particular person lying about? Tell us what he lied about. That's what we want to know.
American citizens you don't lose your rights as a citizen because you are a celebrity. But I remember I'm so old. Like I was telling Molly today, I said, I remember being at a Republican convention where The Rock spoke, and I remember him being at the DNC. It was in the year 2000 in Philadelphia, and when he spoke, he wasn't there. It was George W. Bush that was getting the nomination. He wasn't there endorsing. He was there raising awareness for voting and getting young people and his followers like Taylor Swift is. Yeah. So look, I think for him, the cause of division aspect is a real one. He also went to the DNC that year, and I think everybody's entitled to do whatever the hell they want. He's been quite political. I agree with you. And he's been very engaged and very involved. I do think we're living in a time where we have someone running for president that is an existential threat to democracy. Right? That is.
That's their number one talking point. They just say that and bases it on no particular line of reasoning. But Sunny Hostin, ever since she did her research and found out that her foreparents were slave owners and slave traders, and that she's been passing for black, she's been having to go extra hard to solidify her position in the Democratic camp. So she's going to say the most deranged Trump ideation out of her mouth every time. So you got to know the optics with these things. She has a point to prove.
That is where we are at. Someone who has 88, criminal charges, 4 indictments. Someone that has vowed to be a dictator on the very first day he takes office. Now is the time. If you have a platform, you must be active. You must speak out. That's how I feel. And
I agree with her on that. That's why I'm using my platform to expose and show the phony and fakeness in the theater that they use to try to sway the public's mind. It's gotten to the point that you have to really see. They think that the American population and citizenry is stupid. That we can't see what's going on. I've been seeing a lot of people been coming out against The Rock because The Rock said the truth. You knew when he said it that he was being honest and he was going to get backlash for it. So he had no reason to come out there and lie. He gave his honest opinion on what he's seen that most Americans see, whether they speak on it or not.
I generally don't think that celebrities should be forced to be politically active.
But
right now,
if you have a platform, you have an obligation.
Well, McIntyre was the one I think that said once, I don't want to speak about my politics because what I do is music and it's unifying. And when I go to a concert, she goes, I want everyone there to feel welcome and together. I don't want to divide anyone. So
She could do it at the end of the show.
but the point is there are very activist people that are entertainers. Kerry Washington is a self-proclaimed, I'm an activist.
Yeah.
You have Jane Fonda, activist. When you're not an activist and you happen to have a big platform, I think encouraging people to vote is the most important part, because I think it's so vapid to imagine that just because someone says, I'm going to vote for this, that the sheep will fall in line and follow. Like that minimizes voters everywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't think it matters who they're voting for. It's public participation. That's the important part.
I was a little bit surprised that The Rock said this, because I consider him kind of an activist in the sense that he at one point talked about potentially running for office. There was a poll that said as many as 46% of Americans would want him to run for office. So I thought it was notable in an election with the stakes this high that this is the time he chose to sit it out. But that said, I completely agree with Sarah's point, which is I don't know that The Rock.
That's what you just seen was a misquote. Rock never said he was going to sit it out. He said he wasn't going to endorse Joe Biden. And there are a lot of people in the media, when another celebrity or media personality says, well, I'm not going to support Joe Biden, they think that means sit it out. But they didn't say they was going to sit it out. And they didn't tell who they would vote for because they know of the blowback. You know what I mean? They know that they're going to be attacked by the left. And at this point in our society, we have to realize that the Democrats are doing everything that they accuse Trump of. And the people in the masses that follow them are following them blindly. Because I seen another podcaster and he was asking people who support Joe Biden, and they asked, do you support the transgendering of your children? Do you support what they're doing in the school system? Do you support immigration? What is it about Joe Biden that you don't support? So basically, it's nothing there because they're not going to admit the cognitive dissonance as it relates to gendering children. You know what I mean? And the trafficking, everything else that's going on. So it's really Trump derangement syndrome that you can't even stand up for what's right. Like, you remember when they asked that Supreme Court Justice Kataji to define a woman? It was a woman asking another woman to define what a woman is, and she couldn't define it, but yet she sits on a Supreme Court judge. Ain't that something? You have a Supreme Court justice who says she can't define what a woman is, even though she's a woman. Her mother was a woman. Her grandmother was a woman. It's the duplicity in the double-mindedness of these Democrats. It's so disingenuous because she's finna talk, and they really want to chastise The Rock, and they want to dissuade other people from speaking out, as if they are an authority. Nobody on that panel is an authority on politics. This is basically a gossip show.
Has a core constituency. It's not like Republicans are waiting to hear what he says or Democrats are, and they're going to decide based on that. The most important thing he could do is encourage young people to get out and vote and let them make up for themselves.
And
who
is
they
he
should
doing
vote for.
But there are some endorsements that I think have mattered tremendously. I remember when Oprah Winfrey endorsed Barack Obama when he was running.
That's true.
And that one was incredibly significant, made a difference. She not only endorsed, she went out and campaigned.
She might do
And
it.
she wanted to do that and she felt that to her bones,
right,
and
so-
that is great.
Listen, if they don't want to get involved, respect to them.
Yeah.
If they want to get involved and use their platform, leave them alone too.
Well,
there's people that attack folks that do that. So
There's a huge risk for some of them.
Yes.
If they,
There is.
like
now's the time
like
to take
Robert De Niro, who's the most brilliant actor we've got.
Yeah.
Presently, besides maybe Pacino and a few others like that. But he is out against Trump calls him names. He thinks he's a horrible. And people online write again that he's not a good actor. Oh, suddenly. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. And Marlon Brando. Yeah. I mean, so he takes a risk by doing it.
Yeah, but I don't think people are waiting to find out who people vote for. They're waiting on how they're going to hate them. So what they want is they're not waiting to support. They're waiting to be divided, to be offended, and then they're going to react. So what's the good in that?
I do still think, because we talked a lot about like Taylor Swift and Beyonce, could they have an impact in this election? And I think they do a little more uniquely than The Rock in that their followers are younger. So they may be first-time voters, so encouraging them, A, to register to vote, but also you're not an ingrained voter. You're not committed to a party the first time you vote necessarily. So that's where I think it has more of an impact.
Well, he's such a megastar.
The whole thing is Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and these actors who never know anything about policy. Y'all remember they talked to Cardi B and Kamala Harris had Fat Joe, you know what I mean, come there to the White House and Glorilla, and that's really insulting. That's insulting to intelligent black people to use rappers who rap nothing but about debauchery to all of a sudden become political pundits that affect the views of the average everyday citizen. It's a trap. It's another extension of Big Brother.
Such a megastar. Everyone loves The Rock. Okay, but that's the point. He wants everybody to look. Well, he enjoys smell what The Rock is cooking.
There's a reason not everyone loves us.
Please become more active. That's exactly the point, and that's I remember him saying that line at the conventions. That's the point. Everybody loves The Rock, and The Rock wants everybody to love him. But The Rock, he endorsed Biden the last time, and now he says he's not endorsing anybody. Yeah. But Trump has gotten worse since then. So my assumption is he's going to vote for Biden.
Excuse me, would you mind taking a picture of us?
Oh, no problem. Thanks. Ooh, yes, problem. You need Verizon.
That made no sense what she just said because we clearly heard The Rock say that he wasn't going to support Biden. These Democrats, especially those ones in the travel in elite circles, they're the ones that fear Trump. They are the ones doing all the fear mongering because clearly Joe Biden has gotten worse. He's gotten 10 times worse since the crime bill. Everything that he's ever done for our communities has been to the detriment of us. And people act like they just can't say it. They're too scared to say it. Joe Biden is destroying this country.
Get the new iPhone 15 Pro with tons of storage, so you can take all the pics. Trade in any iPhone in any condition and get iPhone 15 Pro on us. Only on Verizon.
They upset with The Rock, to say the least, because even though mainstream media is not making a big thing out of it, social media is, because we keep showing on our podcast that people who are in the know and close to them that have a conscience are coming out saying, no, I can't support you no more. I can't support you anymore. You know what I mean? And what makes The Rock not want to support somebody he supported before? Charlemagne, when he came out and said he felt like campaigning and supporting Biden injured his community. So I'm quite sure nobody really listens to the witches of the View, but you had to see how they unfold their tactics. Now we're going to talk a little bit, just briefly, about this solar eclipse tomorrow. There's been all kind of predictions, and over here I told you I don't get off into conspiracy theories. You know what I mean? That's not my thing. And people saying, well, you need to have this much water and you need to have this in your home. That's always at this point. At this point in America, we have to always act as if it's 1999, as if, you know what I mean, it's going to be the end of days, because our government has taken us there and we can no longer trust our government. You know, we can't trust them to not use a natural event to trigger something else to throw us into chaos so they could issue martial law and clamp down on us so we can't even come out to even have an election. Because that's kind of what they did during the pandemic. So I'm going to always tell the people on this channel, always have water in your home, always have canned goods, always have ammunition, always be vigilant, because we cannot trust this government to protect us any longer. We can't even trust them to uphold the Constitution at this point. So the event is going on, and they've made all these predictions, and they've even issued National Guard in some places. It could be a fear tactic. It could be an actual event. But no matter what, we have to stay vigilant every day, always in this country at this point. You know this. You know, we can't even play like we live in a democracy, because we don't. This is not a democracy. In the constitutional republic that it was, they're trying to shred the Constitution. So we are headed toward lawlessness. You see that every day. This country has become lawless and debaucherous. So you always got to keep your head on a swivel. So I'm not going to hold y'all this Sunday. You know what I mean? I hope y'all enjoy your church service, the ones that go there. I hope your preacher ain't in there siding with Satan on the low just so he can get a few tithes from you. And he's not speaking the truth. I hope you hear the truth wherever you go. So, sadly to you out of Detroit, keep your head on a swivel. Salute to all patriots as always. Like, share, and subscribe.